welcome back to F1000 for the Hungarian Grand Prix 2022. I'm Chaps, and I'm here as always with Mike. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing okay, Chaps. I'm super confused after qualifying today, so let's see what we can put together here. Nostradamus, I'm trying to put it all together in my head right now.
We both know this is not a fast track. This is not high speeds. This is not a long straight. I don't think it's going to come down to the power units. This is way more not only who has the downforce, but who can nail the setup with the downforce.
One of the notes that I saw when I was reading through some of the history about the previous races at the track, it looks like only 16 of the last 36 races have been won by P1.
The past 4 years, third place has finished higher than second. A big part of that is the inside of the track. There's less rubber laid down. It is not the racing line. I do think that Mercedes looks really good this week. I think Hamilton gets a jump on Alonso off the start. And then from then, can Ocon and Norris hold off Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes that has proven it's fast on not only qualifying now, but we know that they're a fast race car on race day.
When you put the faster cars behind the slower cars and the slower cars are trying to defend the faster cars, and that's when accidents can happen.
I have Verstappen climbing the field.
We both obviously like him in the top 6, which I think is not even really that big of a stretch.
So does Vegas.
But so does that, because like maybe we have to come up with some sort of way that we approach qualifying concerns with the car.
So half of me says we're the race before the summer break, and maybe Red Bull has stretched their upgrades and their new parts a little bit too far. We haven't seen them have the weekend that we've seen Ferrari have, where they're out of their parts are at their life's end, and it's time to replace. The other half of me says it was just a faulty center in qualifying, and it's very easy to fix overnight, but they couldn't get it turned off properly during the lap.
Carlos has been fast in qualifying. He's been able to out-qualify Charles on occasion. Charles can get him. He can beat him for sure. And poor Russell, I mean, I know he's a fantastic driver. For him to get the Mercedes into first place is like absolutely remarkable. The fact that he did it without winning any of the sectors. He's a great defensive driver from what we've seen on the last couple of races. He's been able to hold on to spots really well, but he's not going to be able to hold back the two Ferraris this week. The only thing that's stopping Ferrari from finishing 1-2 in this race, the risk of these two guys running together, fighting for position, and just running into each other.
Quick kudos, shout out, all the positives to Latifi. He led a practice session.
P3? Yeah.
Should we just put $1,000 on Latifi to not be in the points, minus 2,500 every week?
We don't need to get too defensive, but minus 120. So it's even yes or no. So fade or agree for Alpine in the points, both cars in the points.
Both cars in the points.
So a lot of credit to the past performance of how steady the Alpines have been. They've shown the ability to catch the McLaren and to fend off the McLaren. I mean, we saw Alonso essentially do that the entire race last week. McLaren was worried that they are still, pretty significantly off the race pace of the Alpines. They tidied up the transition from the beam wing on the back to the end plate. Essentially gives them a higher downforce setup, which is exactly what they need.
Yep.
And less drag, right? So they're obviously modifying their vehicle. They're tuning it the way that they need to for this race. And so I think they're obviously, again, it's proactive change to increase the downforce. And they've been pretty strong. Actually, they've been quite strong already at the other more downforce-oriented tracks.
I like Alpine.
You do. I know you do like Alpine. I like Alpine in the Alpine-McLaren matchup, right? So I think that they're taking those positions, hopefully. I don't think that Alpha's coming out. I don't think a Bottas really is a threat. They can still get in the points with both the Red Bulls in the points. Let me run this by you from another high bet volume perspective. A lot of money. Minus 200 for Merc, both cars to finish in the points. There has to be a Merc bet. There has to be a conservative Merc bet because they're the most reliable car on the track. You've got a guy in first place, right? So there's a pretty good chance he finishes in the points. And then you've got Lewis Hamilton. You've already said you've got him on the inside line. You think that he's going to move up. I still had him. I had him in 8, but I had him in the top 10. Are we foolish not to take? They look from a constructor perspective. They look as good as anybody out there.
They
right?
do.
And like you said, Lewis could have had a top 3 start tomorrow if his DRS wing was open.
I don't know if both top 6. I mean, it's minus 150 for both top 6. But you need a good day.
Like you need
a good day.
You need a good day. We both seem to think from a reliability perspective that they're going to do it. We think that they lost positions in qualifying because of the DRS issue. You feel very strongly that Lewis is going to perform well. I don't think he's going to fall outside the top 10.
I think
that might be. Yeah. Okay. Well, then again, whether they're 3-4 or 3-8, it doesn't matter as long as they're both up there. And we're quite confident, knocking on wood, that their cars aren't going to blow up. I'll tell you who I think is going to crash, and I've got maybe my number one lean so far, chaps.
Okay.
I think
Tell me.
so. You see Joe down in 12.
Yep.
He is going to crash. Quick on Joe. He's a rookie. He's never run the Hungaroring before. Last year we had the accident. There was 5 people gone, and there was one technical retirement. 2020 and 2019, you had one technical retirement each. Then in 18 and 17, you had 2 technical retirements and 2 cars that were out by accident. So, like, there's going to be cars off the track. Hopefully, there's definitely going to be retirement. I say hopefully only because that just plays into what I'm talking about. I don't want anybody like get killed or anything like that, obviously, but hopefully it does play into what I'm talking about. So specifically on the, well, maybe not just on Joe, but just on the Alfa Romeo, because the prop itself might be focusing more on Alfa versus just Joe himself, because that's picking one guy out of the group. But again, he's never raced there, right? So he retired in France.
Yeah, we barely see him.
Yeah, you never see him because he's retired in 5 of the 12 races that he's been in, right?
Okay.
Like literally, right? So 4 of those retirements have been technically related retirements with the Alfa. And they've struggled with a bunch of different things, and then they've got the Ferrari power unit, so that's one of the issues that they've been experiencing. So is that a plus money bet that we want to make? I have a feeling. Like maybe I said before, we don't have to, like, minimum doesn't have to be, maybe minimum's 50. Like, I think there's a couple of these, like, higher.
I'd love to throw a 50.
We gotta
take
some flyer. We gotta take some flyers here for sure, right? Like, I mean, we gotta.
It's one of those hits, man. Then you've made your 1,000 back for the week, and everything else is great.
I completely agree. No, I completely agree. So, okay, fine. If we're gonna say, so my flyer for sure is that Joe is the first guy out of the race. Like, and I think it's plus 1,100. I saw minus 225 for Ferrari to win. And if you want to start, like, if we're gonna start talking about some of the props and maybe some of, like, the bigger share of the pot, that might be one that we want to entertain. Like, realistically.
Yeah.
I love George Russell, like we talked about. He's my boy.
He's not going to hold them off.
He can, right? Like, there's no way he's going to be able to hold them off. And so minus 225 is not a terrible return on a significant bet.
So you're looking at a Ferrari to win. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, which I think that we're quite confident that it's going to happen. Again, unless they ruin it themselves, which is entirely possible. There's a reason why that's not like minus 500. It should be like minus 500, really. Like, it should be.
225 is pretty good.
Yeah. That's what I wrote down. I believe that it's minus 225.
I can't do that.
You can't log in. You can't look at how much it's gonna.
I can do it though. 400.
You can just like.
Yeah. 177.
Yeah. Okay. 177.
Profit.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to start there. I mean, if you want to start at the top, if you want to, like, I'm looking at what's the more favorable. What are the favorable bets that we feel confident in that we
and we've got a week where the Red Bull's irrelevant in terms of who's going to win this race.
It doesn't
unless something crazy happens. But again,
yeah, but if something crazy happens, then who knows, right? Like, I mean, yeah.
And this is the week where we just had new parts for Carlos, and we're only a couple races off new parts for Leclerc. Like, this is the safest time to take a Ferrari to win this race.
In theory, it should be. Is it? Do we get a bit of a boost in the odds because George happened to again have this phenomenal lap in qualifying and he's on the pole? We do, and so I don't know if there's a reason.
George did that for us. Not for him. He did that for us.
I think he did it for us, Jeff. I agree. Yeah. I think he did it for us, and I minus 225. I'm like I would feel pretty confident that we can make up. Like, then we've got $170 in theory to start betting on maybe.
I'd even go. I'd go half.
I would go higher. I would do half.
I go 500 on this.
500 on minus 225.
I've got another one that's minus 3 or more leaders in the race. So we've got George off the line, guaranteed leader. I think one of the Ferraris passes him. That's 2. Now, do the Ferraris swap each other during strategy, where the third one leads the race for a while? I don't know if Norris gets, or does Lewis start on hards tomorrow, and he just gets the lead because he's the longest first stint. I think it's really likely a third guy gets that lead. I think we see 2 leaders out of turn 1.
So what are the odds on that?
Minus 188.
So the strategy shown
You could
by
have a
Ferrari.
crash. You could have a pass on track. You could have
Yeah.
strategies.
You can have tire management that leads to a different leader out there for sure.
First guy to come in for wets or inters if they're talking about rain, and then a guy takes the lead.
Well, it's the favorite on the board for a reason, right? I mean, and so would Ferrari? They could take them off in consecutive laps and have anybody could go back. I mean, that would be in theory.
Usually the leader comes in first, and then the guy takes over for a lap, and then he comes in the next.
So Sainz is that's his lap, and that's the third race leader. Boom. Yeah, I like that bet. I actually.
Leader after lap 1, Charles Leclerc plus 550. I think he gets it out of turn 1 and he runs away with the race. It's his race after that.
Well, based on the logic of the inside line, based on the car in front of him not being as fast as him.
The Great Wall of George is going to defend Sainz on the. He's going to he's going to move over.
He's going to go too.
And they're going to break. Watch it, man. Leclerc just around the outside. Boom. He leads and he runs away with the race. That's already 2 leaders out of 3. 1 turn. We got 5 props. I don't know if you're writing them down. I'll give them to you. We got Ferrari to win for minus 225.
Yeah.
We've got Mercedes, both cars in the points, minus 225. We've got Alpine, both in the points, for minus 120. 3 or more race leaders at minus 188. And Leclerc to be the leader after the first lap at plus 550.
The other flyer that we had, I don't know if you want to entertain it even a little bit, is I'm telling you, I got this feeling about
Joe.
I got a feeling about Joe. Like, let's say we're $50 on each of the flyers, we're 500 on the Mercedes.
So we've got 150 for Ferrari, 150 for 3
Yeah.
or more,
Yeah.
150 for Alpine.
Sure. Well, do you think is it an even bet? Is it it's minus 120. It's not technically by an odds perspective an even bet. It might not need to be. Maybe it's just 100. Maybe we leave a 50 somewhere out there, or it's 175. At least we.
Do you want to put
down
50 on Joe just because you came in with it?
No. We can't do that. No.
Now here's a quick question for you: can all of our bets win, or have we hedged ourselves out of a total weekend sweep?
No, they can.
Ferraris can win. There can be 3 or more leaders. The Mercedes and the Alpines in the points. Leclerc did it really quick, and Joe was the first one out.